Hey guys, this is POTB. This video I would like to dedicate to answer a few questions. The questions are from the same comment, and the comment comes from Reynolds Vitos or Reynolds Vitos. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. If not, please excuse me. So the first thing that I would like to do before I start with the explications and everything is to actually show you and read the comment. So here's the comment. Bam. Hey, I just listened to a book by Ori Hofmecker, the warrior, that in this particular book he suggested under eating throughout the day and then compensating with one huge meal. This kind of eating reflects how our ancestors used to eat. When I think about hunter-gatherers, it makes sense that they might have eaten some small berries or seeds, nuts along the way before they caught their food. An interesting point he made was that by under-eating, you can sort of manipulate with hormones and even further increase, for instance, growth hormone secretion that can lead to increased muscle growth. Also, it can help with detoxification if you nourish yourself while fasting. Which is interesting is that he didn't talk about ketosis or ketones at any point. He mentioned something different starting with G. The glucagon. I think we already covered that. On one hand, warrior type of diet seems natural. On the other hand, what is natural might not be the most effective. Do you have any comments? Yes, I do. Furthermore, none Amen Ra and his followers, like Mark Spencer, are eating under 2000 calories and still building muscle and feeling amazing. If you instinctively want to hunt down an orange while you're fasting, will you ignore it? Maybe you have comments or anything to clarify. Sorry for the long question comment. There are not many people doing these things. It is nice to talk to fellow explorers. Thanks. So first of all, thank you for your comment. I also believe it is nice to talk with other explorers or biohackers or other people who are interested in those things as well. So I would like to start with the first part of your comment because it is definitely fairly long comment, which is a great thing, I believe, because we are going to cover everything in this video, hopefully. So with all that being said, I would like to start with the first part of the comment, that is the whole nourishing thing during the fasting, boosting hormone levels, boosting growth hormone, the G word, the glucagon, and the nutritional state of ketosis. So let's cover that the glucagon and the ketosis, the nutritional state of ketosis, aka the ketogenic state, they're two completely different things. When in ketosis, or when your body is keto adapted or fat adapted, it burns fat as primary fuel source. That fat comes either from the fats you ingest with your meals, with your diet in general, or in the other scenario, your body burns your own fat stores. Basically, your body mobilizes the already stored fat. The glucagon is a hormone secreted by the pancreas. The way it works is to elevate the concentration of glucose in your bloodstream. The glucagon makes the liver convert glycogen into a glucose that is released in your bloodstream. There are two hormones. The insulin lowers your blood sugar. When you have excessive amounts of blood sugar in your bloodstream, the insulin is secreted in order to get rid of those excessive amounts of blood glucose, and it basically stores the excessive amounts in form of glycogen. If the glucose is too much, it stores it in form of fat. It converts it into fat and it stores it into the fat cells, and the glucagon basically does the exactly opposite thing. It elevates the level of your blood glucose, basically prevents you from going hypo. That is another way you can think about it. It will prevent you from going hypo. The next thing I would like to say is that most definitely fasting boosts your hormone levels, and you do not have to consume any food. You don't have to nourish yourself throughout the fasting in order to boost your growth hormone levels and your testosterone levels. Actually, it's the totally opposite. Once you ingest calories, you break your fast. This is the rough reality. A lot of people really don't want to accept. Like, the moment you ingest calories, it really doesn't matter if the calories come from fat or from protein or from carbohydrates. You break the fast. You are no longer in that fasted state, you see. So this is probably a warrior diet when you break your fast, but it's definitely not a fasting, and is definitely not a 1 meal a day plan. I already covered that in one of my previous videos, but I would like to also mention it for the people who don't know. The 1 meal a day is not a warrior diet. The 1 meal a day is basically one sitting. It is like the Serge Nubret way of eating. It is like General Stanley McChrystal way of eating. Fasting, to a very big extent, boils down to not spiking insulin and, of course, not spiking blood sugar levels. So right now I would like to give you something like deeper or additional explications in order to help you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So every time you eat, every time you ingest food or calories or whatever, your blood glucose levels more or less go up. Every time your blood glucose levels go up, insulin is secreted in order to take care of the sugar in your bloodstream. This is the best way I can describe it. The more sugar you have in your bloodstream, the more insulin is going to be required in order to get rid of that excessive amounts of blood sugar, as I've mentioned. But the thing that I would like to encourage you to remember is the fact that the food, or the macronutrient, if I can put it like this, that causes the biggest blood sugar spike, that of course reflects as the biggest insulin spike, those are the carbohydrates. The food that causes the smallest blood sugar spike and, of course, the smallest insulin spike, those are the fats. And here I would like to make clear that actually there is only one food that when you consume that food is almost like fasting. It's not fasting because fasting is zero, like plain fasting is zero. But there is only one food that is almost like fasting, and that is the bulletproof coffee. You see, if you really need to ingest, you feel the need to ingest some kind of a calories in order to help yourself with the adaptation process, especially if you're a beginner, the only food that I recommend is the bulletproof coffee or the buttered coffee. I do not drink bulletproof coffee, but I drink a lot of coffee, as you probably already know, but it's basically high quality organic coffee beans with some grass-fed butter, unsalted, and some MCTs. And this is the closest you can get to fasting, but not actually fasting, if I can put it like this. Fruits, berries, nuts and seeds, this is not even close. Regardless of your eating pattern, regardless of the fact that you do warrior diet or 1 meal a day plan, your actual diet will always make difference. You see, your diet will always be important. So there are specific diets that will allow you to do this whole thing. There are specific diets that are actually designed to help you not eat, you see, and there are diets that will turn that whole fasting thing into a complete nightmare. You can trust me on that one because I have plenty experience with multiple diets and all of that stuff. The ketogenic diet mimics fasting. You see, they go hand to hand. In fact, the ketogenic diet provides up to 71% of the benefits from fasting, from plain fasting, from things like the 1 meal a day or even prolonged fasts, those 48-hour fasts that I enjoy doing once a week. So in order to control hunger, you have to consume a diet that will allow you to have those long-lasting, sustaining levels of energy, but not only long-lasting, sustaining levels of energy, for example, 5 to 6 hours, but long-lasting, sustaining levels of energy on the next day. This is the thing that I definitely encourage you to pay attention to. Get yourself on a glucometer and simply start experimenting with different foods. Warrior type of diet seems natural. On the other hand, what is natural might not be the most efficient. So, in my personal opinion, the best thing is to combine both. If you really want to make things work effectively for you, the best advice I can give you is to understand that some foods and some specific diets, it really doesn't matter what kind of a diet is, some foods and some specific diets are virtually designed to allow you to not eat, and some foods will sabotage your fasting. This is the best way I can describe, because you really don't want to end in a situation where you try to be tough in order to fight your hunger. Because we talk about muscle building, making all kinds of gains and all of that stuff is great. But if you struggle with like having cravings and having that weird desire to hunt down an orange, then you should definitely make some dietary adjustments, in my personal opinion. If you want to hunt down an orange during your fasted state, then the thing that I would like to recommend you is to immediately check your blood glucose levels with the glucometer, like multiple times. This is what I typically prefer to do, and basically do some adjustments, dietary adjustments. You should not feel hungry. You should feel zero desire to hunt anything during your fasted state. The things that you want to hunt, those are your goals. You see, this is the whole point of this lifestyle that I'm trying to show you on this channel. When you're constantly thinking about food, when you constantly try to prevent yourself from eating, you end up suffering from a condition called decision fatigue. This is very, very important, especially for all of you people who really want to make progress in something. I'm not so sure what are your goals or what are your aspirations. Your brain has limited amount of decisions that it can make per day. You see, limited amount of decisions. If you spend biggest percentage or the bulk of your decisions on pointless stuff, such as should I hunt down an orange or should I eat that cookie, you're going to suffer from that decision fatigue. That is actually really well explained in the Bulletproof Diet. That is a book that I highly encourage you to get your hands on. Right now I'm about to show you the book, one of my favorite books. It is not necessary for you to listen to my recommendations if you don't want to listen to me and whatnot, but figuring out what are the foods that will allow you have those stable blood glucose levels during the fasted state is a must. You see, you have to take control over your hunger, you have to take control over your cravings, and the way of doing it is eliminating all of the craving causing foods. You don't want to end up suffering during the fasted state. You want to enjoy like happy and productive 24 or 48-hour fasts. When you don't eat for really extended period of time, even if you're a vegetarian, even if you're a vegan, even if you consume the typical bodybuilding diet that is extremely rich in grains and all of that, even if you're extremely carbohydrate dependent person, if I can put it like this, your body will ultimately deplete the carbs, and after depleting the carbs, it will start mobilizing fat for fuel. Yes, there will be some like side effects. You will experience what is called a keto flu. This is something like a condition people experience, something like all of the side effects from quitting carbs because your brain is addicted to sugar. This is a whole different subject. I'll probably discuss it in another video. Ultimately, you start running on fats, and once you start running on fats, you will feel a lot more energetic, a lot more focused, and this will suppress your appetite, hunger, and there will be no cravings. I can assure you about that. And why the ketogenic diet is the best thing to adapt to one meal a day plan or to any other intermittent fasting protocol, because it preps your body and brain for the actual fasting. In my personal opinion, they are the two different parts of the same thing, or like the two different sides of the same coin. This is a reference I like to use. So you will not become weaker. You can trust me on that one. If you're already into ketosis, you can check my previous video where I explain some things about the 48-hour fasts and all of that stuff. You can also check my blood glucose levels on the next day, on the second day, and in fact on the second day I'm sharp as a motherfucker. Like, I'm really productive, I'm full of energy and all of that stuff. And you probably already know, just in case you don't know, you can Google that thing out. They started using exogenous ketones in the military because soldiers, and as long as I know, astronauts perform better when they're into the state of ketosis. Well, new studies suggest that the better alternative would be to fast those soldiers and astronauts. And just in case you don't know, if you are not a bodybuilder pre-contest, if you are not in this the best way to describe it is like ridiculously crispy conditioning, for example like 3 to 5% body fat, you have like around 30 to 40,000 calories stored in form of body fat. So those 30 to 40,000 calories will surprisingly last you, will provide enough energy without any ingestion of other calories. Like they will provide energy for around a whole month. And the more you do it, the higher concentration of ketones there will be in your bloodstream. And if you don't believe me, I would like to recommend you to read or listen to another book, another favorite of mine. This is pretty new actually. The Complete Guide to Fasting by Dr. Jason Funk, MD, and Jimmy Moore. By the way, this is like some heavy fasting shit. This is not like the 1 meal a day plan, because this is like fasting in general, fasting for 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 weeks even, those types of stuff, like the next level shit. I highly encourage you to get your hands on that book. And yeah, I believe I covered everything. I hope so actually, but let's check one more time. Furthermore, none Amen-Ra and his followers like Mark Spencer are eating under 2000 calories and still building muscle and feeling amazing. So I don't know what to say on that one. If you want to do a 2000 calories like Dr. Nun Amen-Ra, go for it, but I also highly encourage you to give those things that I recommend on my channel for 1 month and let me know. Just give all those things a try for 1 month and basically see what works better for yourself. I'm not against those guys. I was not really familiar with them, as long as I can understand they're vegans or something like that. Personally, I was a vegan as a teenager. I was really into it. Not really a vegan. I was about to become a vegan. I was a vegetarian and I was having like some dairy products and some egg containing products here and there, and I was about to become a vegan. If you want to find out more about my experience with veganism, vegetarianism and all of that stuff, I highly encourage you to check one of the other links in the description box down below. The title of the video is When I Was Fat, and you're gonna be able to find out more. As long as for the 2000 calories thing, those are like extremely low calories for me. I rather not eat than break my fast for those 2000 calories. I avoid low calorie diets by any means, literally by any means, because I always knew that subconsciously, but now there are plenty of scientific studies that actually prove my statement is correct. Low calorie diets massively affect your brain performance. You see, building muscle is great, I really fuck with it, but nowadays the most important things are my mood, the way how I feel, my levels of satisfaction throughout the day, and my brain performance. The third most important thing that I also pay attention to is the way how I look, but this is not more important than my brain performance, you see. So low calorie diets definitely not for me. Eating in order to eat only 2000 calories, again, I would rather make my fasting longer, skip the whole day and eat on the next day. So right now I would like to say a few words about the whole idea of doing things instinctively, or as I prefer to call it, relying on the signals of your body. So if you watch my other videos and whatnot, you probably already know that I'm all about relying on the signals of my body. But here's a tiny detail that I would like to make clear, and I definitely encourage all of you people, pay attention to the thing that I'm about to say. Relying on the signals of your body is probably the best thing you can do, but you should firstly learn how to differentiate a craving from a real signal. You see, if you have cravings, that doesn't mean those are the signals of your body. If you have any form of desire to eat something that contains a lot of sugar, especially like fructose, that is the worst sugar, such as the situation with the orange and all of that, this is definitely a craving. Those are not the signals of your body. That is a craving, and you should see it as a signal of your body, and your body tells you that your diet actually needs some adjustments. You see, you have to take some action in order to rearrange your diet. You should not experience any of those feelings throughout the day. Those feelings, if I can put it like this, to eat a sugary food. And as in relation to that thing, I would like to also give you some recommendations how to rely on the signals of your body, like how to truly do the things instinctively, besides of course paying attention to the way how you feel and the way how you perform on the next day. Get your hands on a glucometer, and on a blood pressure monitor. You see, those two tools, especially the glucometer, were the tools that really helped me adapt to the 1 meal a day, and really helped me figure out what is the actual diet that will allow me to do whatever the fuck I want to do throughout the whole day without any difficulties, any blood sugar dysregulations, none of that stuff like high blood pressure and all that crap. So yeah, this is basically everything I wanted to say, guys. Once again, I would like to thank you, Reynolds Vitals, for this long comment. It is nice to talk to other explorers and people who are interested in those things in general. I hope I provided the answer. I had tons of fun filming the video, as you probably already know. If you find the video helpful, you can feel free to share the video and click on the thumbs up button down below in order to help me grow this channel. And you can also feel free to subscribe for more content and whatnot. And yeah, I'm wrapping up for now. I would like to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully I'ma see you in my next one. Peace, and I'm out, and have a nice one.